Hello, welcome to Holistic Lifestyle Medicine. Today I wanted to make a video on cultivating a relationship with the plant kingdom. Every time I get an inspiration to make a video for this channel and I'm about to start making the video, I always get this contrast image in my mind. The contrast is really between how we're living today and how it was. When I say was 100 years ago, going back 100 years ago, or previous to 100 years ago, which was closer to the natural design of this human body. And so the contrast image that comes into my mind really shows me how far we've come from the natural design of our body and how we were designed to live in this on this planet and how we're actually today living. And this contrast presents literally the answer to the various epidemics that we're facing today. The epidemic of loneliness, the epidemic, the physical unwell, acute illnesses, autoimmune conditions, mental health, crisis. And the reason this contrast is so clear to me today is because of my own personal journey. When I look at how I lived and how I live today, I see how the change in lifestyle has greatly contributed to my health, well-being, vitality, peace. And so I'm very passionate about making videos on lifestyle medicine, consciously designing our lifestyles so that our lifestyles are supporting our well-being rather than detrimental to our well-being. So when I talk about the natural human design of this body and all other bodies in nature, whether that's the tree, the ocean, the lakes, the rivers, the mountains, the birds, the animals, were no different to the rest of the bodies in nature. We're designed by the same intelligence, by the same underlying principle behind all creation, behind all manifested form. But what has happened is that human beings have come into this place of dominance. They believe that they dominate the rest of nature. They believe that they're separate from the rest of nature. And so they dominate, they extract, they deplete. And because of this paradigm, this industrial paradigm, this colonial paradigm, we have become so separated from the natural design of our body that we've become unwell. So it's urgent. It's never been more urgent. And I don't like to use the word urgent because we're already so stressed. Our nervous systems are already unsettled. So I don't want to create more stress in anyone's systems by using the word urgent. But what I'm trying to say is that it is absolutely imperative, it's the need of the hour, that we return to the natural design of this human body. We start remembering the natural human design of this body and how this body was designed to live in interaction, in communion, in relationship with the rest of nature, not in dominance of the rest of nature. So having introduced the subject like that, let's come back to cultivating a relationship with the plant kingdom. So if I look at lifestyles today, our only relationship with the plant kingdom is the grocery aisle of our supermarket when we take our trolleys and we put some vegetables in and we come back and cook. I mean, this is the reality for the majority of human beings today. And this was my reality too. Only until 5 years ago, I only just bought vegetables from the supermarket, came home and cooked. It was so when I make these videos, I'm really speaking from my own personal journey, from my own arc. Because 5 years ago or 4 years ago, we bought this land and I've been working very solidly regenerating the soil here. There was not much organic life in the soil. And now when I dig somewhere and I see earthworms come up, or I see grasshoppers or critters, it, it's just so validating. It is just so satisfying to see that life is coming back on this land. And I've been planting fruit trees and flowering trees and shrubs and vines and vegetables. And what I've noticed is the more I've done this, the more I have worked in soil, the more I've worked with plants, I have started to feel so much better in my body. The vitality, the aliveness has returned, or rather I don't think I ever felt this vital or alive before I started this journey of gardening, or micro farming. I've got a little, I would call a micro farm here. And so I thought to myself, when I had that contrast image of what the current lifestyle of most human beings is, and what was, and what could be, and I looked at all the aspects in which we've gone so far away from the natural design of this body, from how we were meant to live, and how we're actually living today. And I look at all the ways in which we moved away from the natural design. What comes up primarily for me, and I'll make a series of videos on all those aspects, but what came up primarily for me is our disconnection with land, disconnection with soil, disconnection with plants. Even like going back 2 generations, my grandparents were farmers. They grew all their food. And so I'm sure if most of you trace back even 2 generations, 3 generations ago, you'll find that your ancestors were growing their own food. If not all of it, then they were swapping or growing some of it. And so when I think of how can we return this mind-body to wellness, to vitality, to peace, to aliveness, the first image that comes into my mind is going back to cultivating a relationship with the plant kingdom. How do we do it? Not all of us can go outside of big cities and buy farmland and start growing food, although my dream is that if everyone could find a block of land, it doesn't matter if it's like a urban plot or if it's your balcony, wherever, and just do this guerrilla gardening, just like grow food. How crazy, like how amazing would that be? But I wanted to offer in this video ways in which we can start cultivating a relationship with the plant kingdom, regardless of where you are. So you don't have to have a lot of land. So if you're living in a city, if you're living in an apartment block, if all you have is a balcony or a terrace, can you bring some pots and just start to grow 1 or 2 seasonal vegetables in your pot? If it's summer, a tomato plant is the easiest to grow. So just tomatoes, some herbs, mint, coriander, just even on your kitchen window, just on a sill, just starting to grow some coriander, some herbs that you use in your cooking, some flowering plants, marigolds, calendulas, and not just buying something from a shop and just putting it out, like bringing it home and then just watering it. Get involved in the whole process of getting the pot, getting the soil, buying the compost if you don't make your own, mixing it, getting the seed, grow it from seed, watch the cycle of life, get involved in the cycle of life from seed all the way till the plant, from seed to when the plant grows to when it goes to seed and then dies off. And this, everyone can start to cultivate that relationship with the plant kingdom. And if you have some land, if you're not restricted by an apartment block or just a balcony, if you do have some land, then I would highly suggest, going all into it, like getting some garden beds ready, bringing some soil if you don't have great soil, going to the local nursery, getting some horse, cow manure or goat manure or chicken manure and just mixing it with the soil, leaving it for couple of months, let it age in there and grow your first lot of vegetables and just see how amazing you feel when you eat a tomato or a cucumber or a green bean that you've grown, that you've tended to from seed all the way to fruit, all the way to harvesting and then cooking with it in your kitchen. It restores that vital connection that we have forgotten, that vital relationship with our food that we have forgotten, and we've completely outsourced that relationship to big industries and big agriculture. In where I live, it's been a very highly conscious town, and we support our local farmers. Most of the people here buy from local farmers. They don't buy from big agriculture. But if you look at the masses, if you go look at big cities, even yeah, sure, like the smaller towns, you're still kind of buying from your hawkers on the road, especially in Asia. But when I think of the Western developed industrialized world, human beings have given their power away. And this is giving your power away, because food is your power. What you eat is your power. It carries intelligence, nutrition, prana, life force, right? It's what your food animates your body. Of course, it's not the only aspect of what animates your body, but it is an important part of what animates our bodies. But we've given that power away to big agriculture, big tech, to corporations, to monocultures, monocroppings, and mass use of industrial like pesticides and chemicals that are making us sick. And the thing with pesticides, herbicides, chemicals in big agriculture or mass agriculture is that we don't get suddenly very sick. It's a slow poisoning. I went to my local, once we were driving from where I live to Melbourne, and I just went past like massive fields of potato crops, and I saw that they had these massive machines and they were spraying them and the plants were dying. And I looked up the chemicals that are used here on potato farms. It's a herbicide, or there's a series of herbicides, and I looked up their fact sheets. And I kid you not, if you look at the fact sheets of anything that's sprayed on food, it basically tells you don't use it, because it tells you don't allow it to go into waterways, don't allow it to go into the bodies of any birds or animals, do not touch it directly, wear hazardous body suits when you're spraying it. And yet we eat the very fruit that comes off that plant. It's shocking. So what it does is it slowly poisons us over time, and we develop all sorts of issues, autoimmune conditions, eczemas, I don't know. It depends on how resilient your body is and what your detoxification channels are like, and how much your body can remove these poisons from your body. It really depends on that. So if your body's prime and it's like flushing it out, but it will get tired of flushing the poisons out if you keep putting the poisons back in. So for me, lifestyle medicine is about taking our power back. It's about saying, I take my power back for all aspects of my life. Food, finances, health, my learning, my education. And I'll make a series of videos, but this particular video is about your relationship with the plant kingdom, your relationship with what you eat, and how can you start to recover that power that we've innocently given up. It's just happened in the last couple of generations as corporations have completely taken over so many aspects of our lifestyle. It is shocking. Just do a small audit of how many, like the number of aspects of your daily life in which you are interacting with a corporation, a big corporation. And it's shocking. I do it all the time, and I realize just how much of my energy, my resources are being fed into corporations. So I don't want to make this video too long. I just wanted to, I guess, evoke this ancient, primal desire in us to connect back to soil, to connect back to land, to connect back to plants. And I know we all carry it. It's part of our natural human design. We've just forgotten. It's like we've gone to sleep. It's like, wake up, you know? And you'll notice it's not just about, like, of course, not all of us can start growing everything that we eat. It's impossible. But as a first step, it's about rekindling that relationship, because that relationship has died for most of us. Our relationship with our food, our relationship with the plant kingdom. So it's about rekindling that relationship. And there is a reciprocatory energy when we start to create that relationship. You'll notice that you'll start to feel well. The plants will start to feel, the plant kingdom will start to thank you. The spirits in the plant kingdom will start to thank you. They'll feel grateful because they're being acknowledged, they're being honored. And so it's a two-way relationship. It's always a two-way relationship between us and any other aspect of nature. And as a second step, after you've nurtured this relationship and you've started to grow some food, some plants in your house, however you live, the next step would be to create a connection with your local farmers. Find out who grows what in your local, I don't know, 10, 15 kilometer, maybe 20 kilometer radius. I don't know, go 50 kilometers if you can't find anything close by, and see if you can buy directly from them. Thank you.